All right, we're gonna try this again. All right, we are back. So I see Elaine here, so let's bring on Elaine. All right, let's see if this works. Welcome back, everyone. We're talking all things Airbnb entrepreneurship. What's up, Jorge? Elaine, there you go.
Hey, can you see me?
I can see you. I can hear you. We're in
Okay,
business.
perfect. I'm
How
glad.
are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am great. Thanks for asking. So the way we're going to do this is you can
Yeah,
start with my question is, and then I'm
I'm
going to do
ready.
one question per person so we could just get as many people on here. So go ahead.
I'm ready. I'm ready. So my question is, do you recommend starting with an LLC, right? An LLC, when buying or subleasing specifically with the purpose of Airbnb or short-term rental with VRBO and stuff like that?
Yeah. Do you currently own any real estate or other businesses?
I have my own business, private business consulting, and I also have an Airbnb in Philly.
Okay. So I always answer this question like this. LLCs, I do recommend them when you have like a lot to protect because LLCs serve as like an insurance policy. But if
Okay.
someone says, Jorge, I don't own any other businesses and I don't own any real estate, then I don't recommend an LLC. It's like getting a $1,000 car. You don't need full coverage for a $1,000 car. But if you got a expensive car, you need full coverage because you have a lot to protect. Um, so I have an LLC for each property that I own. And then for my subleases and co-hosts, I have one LLC for all of them together. And what state do you live in?
In New York, specifically Brooklyn.
Okay, cool. So yeah, it's going to be expensive to start an LLC, just like where I'm at in California. And then of course there's like I'm not sure your franchise fee is probably similar, like $800 every single year. And
Well, I've been recommended to do it in Delaware because of the taxes.
so yeah, you can do it in Delaware, but you're going to need like a whole, like I have a structure like that where my LLCs are out of where I think they're in Delaware, and that's the way my attorney set them up. But then I have this really complicated structure that I don't even know how to explain, where they're
Okay.
able to do that as resident agents. And my I use these attorneys by the name of Anderson Advisors. They're out of Las Vegas, and they know how to do all this complicated, asset protection structure. But if you have a lot to protect, then I do recommend an LLC. But if there's not that much to protect yet, I recommend getting a personal umbrella policy, insurance policy, which is
A
like three to
personal
four
umbrella
hundred.
policy. Okay.
Yeah, personal umbrella policy, you'll get about $1 million of coverage, and it's like $300 a year. Totally worth it.
Okay.
So that's what I recommend.
All right. Well, thank you. That was my question. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome, Elaine. Thanks for joining.
All
Talk
right.
soon.
Take care. Bye.
All righty, who wants to come on next? And guys, it helps if you add the questions and the little question mark, because if you add it in the comments, I'm probably gonna miss it. And like now you gotta scroll to try to find your questions here. But let's try this again. Let's see, let's bring on Miguel. I know he sent a request. Can you guys send me a request? In the meantime, do you typically get a corporate lease for your properties? No. No corporate leases. We do residential leases. No corporate leases. Another question is, do you get the appointment first? Do you get the appointment first to view the property before you even mention anything about Airbnb? Absolutely. Go look at the property first. If it meets the criteria, meaning it's in good condition, parking, renovated, AC and heat, in a good residential neighborhood, then after viewing it and verifying those 5 things, then you ask, how do I proceed with the application? You're going to submit the application, a bank statement, and a copy of your credit report, which you can get at free credit-report.com. So guys, it's called the personal umbrella policy. It's an insurance policy. And I recommend that. I have one myself. It's up to $1 million. It's like $300. It's a great, great, great investment. So again, if you guys want to send me a request, I can bring you on here and you can ask your one question. I want to bring as many people as possible. Let's see here. And don't be shy. I don't bite. In the meantime, can you do this if you have a low? You're talking like a low, like get low credit score. Yeah, thanks for writing that, Sebastian. It is harder, but it is possible. Obviously, the better credit you have, the easier it's going to be. I do have a student out in Las Vegas, a single mom of 6 kids. She's a hustler, and she was able to get a sublease with a 420 credit score. So when there's a will, there's a way, and you can definitely make it happen. Do you use AirDNA? I do not. I use Mash Visor. What's up, plant-based Papi? When are you gonna open up Guacamaya, man? I miss those crunch wraps, man. I would be ordering them every day today. Any investors that you recommend connecting with? Investors. I mean, it depends, right? Like what kind of investors do you want to connect with? Like residential, commercial, like people who are doing apartment buildings, people who are doing single family homes, like what, you want to be specific with the questions, and that's going to help you more. April, awesome. I recommend co-hosting for any low credit score. That's true. Mark's one of my students. With co-hosting, you don't need a credit score at all. All right, other questions. Again, if you guys want to send a request, just send a request and I can bring you live and you can ask a question here. If I lease at a apartment under my LLC, do I need to tell them, or do I have a lease stating I can Airbnb? So in the lease agreement, so here's the thing, right? Lease agreements are standard, in which they all say no subleasing allowed, because when you're renting a property, it's designed for you to live there. However, if you plan on subleasing to Airbnb, I recommend you are completely honest. You let them know so you can get it in writing, and they can change that verbiage on the lease agreement and actually allow you to Airbnb. Does that make sense? I've had landlords who are, after 2 weeks of launching, the first Airbnb on one of their properties, start sending me other properties they own, asking me if I also want to Airbnb those. So I'm all about doing business, with full honesty and transparency. Do you need to own the property to rent on Airbnb? No. Most of my properties, we sublease them, which is where we rent properties, get permission in writing, and launch them on Airbnb. In some cases, we use not only other people's properties, but other people's monies too. Do you wholesale? I do not wholesale. See, the thing about, I respect all the hustles out there. The thing about wholesaling properties, like wholesale real estate, flipping real estate, and having a real estate license, is you're always chasing the next paycheck. And I love hanging out at the beach. You know what I mean? I love the freedom that I get from Airbnb. I have Airbnbs that I launched 4 years ago, and every couple of days for the last 4 years, I get deposits from Airbnb. So I love the passive income strategy. Wholesaling, flipping, and a real estate license, it's all active income. It's all 9 to 5, chasing the next paycheck. With Airbnb, it's fully automated, and it's truly about 95% passive. That's what I love about it. What is the pitch for talking to landlords? I mean, the biggest thing is you want to handle 3 objections: that you're going to pay them on time, take care of the property, and make sure there's no issues with the neighbors. Other than that, those are the main objections, really. and you want to submit bank statements, credit report, your copy of your credit report, which you can get at freecreditreport.com, and the application. Best way to get started if you don't own real estate: Airbnb. Airbnb. So again, if you guys, we're talking all things, if you just joined, we're talking all things Airbnb, whether you own or whether you are going to sublease or co-host, all things Airbnb. If you guys send me a request, I can bring you on here and you can actually ask me a question and go live with me. Who does your customer service? Do you have 24-hour support? Yes, I have virtual assistants in the Philippines who do all the communications. What do you mean by sometimes you use other people's money? Well, yeah, there's a lot of people who, ooh, Zakaria, let's bring you back on because it's working now. Do you ever get in trouble with HOA? We do not have properties that have HOA. HOA is the devil, stay away. What did you mean by sometimes you use other people's money? Well, sometimes I'll use the bank's money, which is technically other people's money, and I'll use a balance transfer like from a credit card. So I'll take money from a credit card, transfer it to my checking account, use that money to launch Airbnbs, use the cash flow from the Airbnbs to then pay off the credit card. This is called a balance transfer promotion that a lot of credit cards have. The one I recommend, it's called the Bank of America Cash Rewards MasterCard. Okay, Bank of America Cash Rewards MasterCard. And in other cases, I've had, like last year, we had 2 people that each invested $20,000. And then I took those 40K, launched multiple Airbnbs, paid them a percentage, like I think it was like 10% or 12% on their money. So think about it. If you have 10, 20 grand sitting in your bank account right now, that money is depreciating, right? That's why savers are losers. Why would you save something when the government is printing trillions of dollars? Did you know that 20% of all the physical money in circulation was printed in 2020? I'm gonna say that again. Did you know that 20% of all physical money in circulation was printed in 2020? So when you keep printing something and having more and more and more of it, it devalues the entire supply. Does that make sense? That this is, if we continue printing money, we're going to go into something that's called hyperinflation. This is when cash becomes trash. If you look this up, Venezuela's going through this right now. It happened in Weimar, Germany in 1921. There's literally people. Let me show you guys a quick image. There's people who are burning money to stay warm because it was cheaper to burn money to stay warm than it was to buy wood. Weimar, Germany, hyperinflation, trash streets. Check this out. This is serious. This is no joke. Okay, this is for real. Check this out. Just finding the right image. Weimar, Germany, hyperinflation. Trying to find the right image here. 1 second, guys. You guys can Google it on your own, but there's literally images on Google. People are there's trash all over the street. Millionaires became homeless overnight because trash became trash. So that being said, there's people that have, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 grand in the bank, and it's just sitting there depreciating over time. If you have $10,000 right now in your bank account and you keep it there for the next 10 years, in 10 years, you're going to need 20 grand to buy you what 10 grand will buy you today. So right now, banks are paying like a quarter or a tenth of 1%. I pay these investors 12%. It's about 24 times more than the bank, right? And then I took that money and launched Airbnbs. And so I was able to use other people's properties and other people's money, right? You do this by using something called a promissory note, which is the promise to pay back. It's not tied to any physical assets or anything like that. So Yes, inflation, and if it keeps going, it turns into hyperinflation. Do you ever get in trouble? I prefer to own the property. Wouldn't that? I prefer to own the property. Would that be less effective? Yes, owning is like at the top of the food chain, right? But not everyone is in a position where they can buy. And my philosophy is do what you can with what you have where you are. Do what you can. Somebody write this in the chat. Do what you can with what you have where you are. So if you can buy, beautiful. But if you're not in a position to buy, the next best thing is to sublease. If you're not in a position to sublease, the next best thing is to co-host. The important thing is to get started. Yes, Elaine. By the way, Elaine, can you send me another DM? I want to reconnect with you. I think you spoke to my teammate today, but I want to just see if I can support you anyway. So if you could send me a DM, Elaine, that'd be great. By co-hosting, you use people's money and you manage them. People's properties. Yep. It's called inflation. It's been around. So what do? I do whatever it takes, Marcus. I am a real estate investor and Airbnb expert. So I buy properties, I sublease properties, I manage properties, and I have them all on Airbnb. So what's the next move? Start investing. The only way you're guaranteed to lose is if you don't invest at all. Is it worth it to start off with studios and one bedrooms to start on Airbnb? Yes. The most important thing is get started. Okay. Even if you don't make money, what's most important is who you become in the process. The money will come. You see, success is not something you pursue, it's something you attract by who you become. So who you become is more important in the front end, because when you become a person of value and you attain this wisdom and this experience, money will chase you. Does that make sense? Do what you can with what you have, where you are. Awesome, Elaine. How do you start co-host? One of the ways is you can get in contact with people that are already operating Airbnbs, and you can do that by joining Facebook groups. So go on Facebook and search Airbnb host Los Angeles, Airbnb host San Diego, and so on and so forth. I want to know more about promissory. So yeah, to be able to work with private money investors, you use a legal document called a promissory note, which basically states that you promise to pay them back. So obviously this would work with people who you trust and who trust you. Do you recommend to buy a home this year? That's a good question. If it's a home to live in, absolutely, and don't hesitate. If it's your second or third and beyond, then it depends. Yeah, it's a really interesting time. Personally, because I already own multiple properties, I'm not buying right now or in the second quarter. If I buy this year, it would be like in the third or fourth quarter, going into the first and second quarter of next year. I do believe there's going to be a correction, but there's no guarantee. The chances are super high, but it's not guaranteed that they will correct. Do you recommend, does it usually take a large city? Does it usually take a large city as your market? Does it usually take a large city? Am I reading that wrong, or was there something missing there? Marcus, can you rewrite your question, please? By the way, if you can resend me a request and I can bring you on here. Is it worth it to start? We already answered that. How can you get started without having properties? Rent someone else's property. That's how you do it. I have a home in Mexico, completely remodeled, just needs furniture. What advice can you give me to put the place as an Airbnb? If you can add I don't know if you have a pool. If you do, that would be great. But if not, you can add a jacuzzi, add a pool table or a foosball table. You want to be able to create a staycation experience inside of the home where people can have a great experience without needing to leave the home. How many bedrooms and bathrooms is the property, Tijuana Love? How many bedrooms, bathrooms, and square footage? Do you have to live in a large city? No, because you can also operate Airbnbs in other cities. But I do recommend that you launch your Airbnbs in the biggest and most busiest cities because they have more tourism. What do you mean by rent someone else's home? Yeah, you can rent someone else's home, pay them the monthly rate that they're asking for, and then launch it on Airbnb as long as you get their permission in writing. This is 100% legit and normal and legal. It's just like, think about it. Imagine you wanted to start a barbershop. Okay. Most people, probably 9.5 out of 10 people that own a barbershop do not own the real estate. Someone else owns the real estate. They rent, they lease the property on a 12-month lease or however long it is, start um, their barber business and pay the fixed monthly rent to the owner. We do the exact same thing. We are renting someone else's property, get a lease agreement. We then get permission to launch it on Airbnb. Just like barbers, right? Barbers, nail salons, restaurants, they have to have permission to launch that type of business in that real estate. You can't just say, oh, I want to do a barbershop here. No, you need to have permission to be able to do it in specific areas. Same thing with Airbnb. Do you recommend starting with the cleaning company or adding a few workers on payroll? I recommend you hire like a person who does cleaning, not a big company. They're going to be too expensive and all that. Can I lease out an apartment and lease it out as Airbnb? Yes, but get permission in writing to put it on Airbnb. What do you do for furniture once you've rented a home? We find properties that are already furnished. Do you ever think about making a business in Morocco, especially it's a tourism? I haven't considered going international myself just because business is so good where I live. Do you always get furnished properties? All the current subleases we have, none of them were furnished. Moving forward, our intention is to get properties that are only furnished. A lot of my students have launched furnished properties. Again, if somebody wants to come on here, you can send me a request and I can bring you on here. What's up, Martin? 3 bedrooms, 1 bath. So yeah, I recommend you take the biggest bedroom, Tijuana Love, and try to put 2 queen beds side by side. And if they don't fit side by side, get a queen over queen bunk bed. And then in the second and third room, put 1 queen bed each. In the living room, get 2 futons that serve as couches, but also turn into beds. And that way you can host 8 people. Where do I live? I live in Los Angeles, California. Let me know what other questions you guys have. Other questions. Again, you guys can send a request to join me and I can bring you live and you can ask a question. If you just joined, welcome. We are talking all things Airbnb, whether you're subleasing, co-hosting, or buying. So I'm going to bring on Mon's World. Please start your question with "my question is," and I'm going to do 1 question per person to get as many people on here. Would you recommend somewhere like Nevada? Yep, I do actually. Nevada is a pretty good place to do it. Biggest challenge is not getting started sooner. Any books that help to get started? My book. Hello. What's up, Mon?
My man, how are you?
I'm great, man. How about yourself?
I'm good. I talked to you last night.
That's right. I was like, you look familiar. I was like, either I seen you on TV or we were on Instagram together.
Yeah, I talked to you last night. I just got a haircut today, so
There you go. Fresh cut.
I appreciate it. So after your live last night, I did a bunch of research and just started like looking at properties and things like that. And I noticed that like the cleaning fees, I'm just wondering how the cleaning fees stack up because those seem to be like the biggest fee and the most recurring fee because after every single booking, there's a cleaning fee. And I'm wondering like, how do you manage that in terms of cutting into your profit margin?
Great question. So the short answer is it doesn't cut into your profit margin because the cleaning fee is a separate fee that you charge on top of the bookings. So if you're charging $200 per night and somebody books it for 3 nights, that's $600. You charge a cleaning fee for the duration of the stay. And so that's a separate fee.
Boom.
Boom. See?
Boom. That's what I need to hear. Because I was looking at it, I was like, man, like these cleaning fees are going to kill me. but
Yeah,
there it is.
it doesn't. If anything, usually what we do is charge an extra $25 to $50 of what the cleaning of what we actually pay our cleaning staff, and that extra 20 to 25 per booking can add up, because say you have 6 bookings in a month, that could be 150 to 300 extra, which would be a little extra cash flow and can help cover all of your replenishables like soap, body wash, shampoo, conditioner, and all that stuff.
Got you. Okay. Can I ask another question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you recommend any cities starting out?
Where are you located?
I'm in Massachusetts. I
Massachusetts.
was in New York, but I'm in Mass right now.
Let me see. I'll tell you right now what's going on in Massachusetts. So, oh yeah, I do not recommend Massachusetts. There's only 17 Airbnbs right now, which is not really. And usually, I want to see at least 30. So it's just what can you rent a house for, like a 3-2?
In Massachusetts, 2,000, 2,500,
The margins would be too
closer
small.
to like three.
Yeah, what's like a city like after Massachusetts that so my
Um,
geography is terrible. Massachusetts is located like where?
it's like it's on the East Coast, so Maine, New Hampshire, Connecticut, New York.
Wait, Massachusetts is a state, right? Or it's a
Yeah,
city?
it's a state. I was gonna let it slide. I was
Okay,
gonna
can
let
you
it
give me a
slide.
can you give me a city within Massachusetts?
Yeah, Boston.
Okay, see, now that makes sense. Boston, Massachusetts. Okay, cool. Okay, so that makes it more clear. So I think when I put Massachusetts, it went to a small area that was not accurate, because I need to put a city. So for example, when I put Boston, I'm telling you guys, I did 7th grade twice. I graduated high school at 4 Fs and 1D. I'm a college dropout. I failed geography, science, history, all that stuff. Okay.
No, you're good, man. I'd rather be
But all those, I make 10 times more money than my principals and all them people did. So check it out. When I go
that's
to
all that matters.
Boston, Massachusetts, I see over 590, almost 600 Airbnbs active right now.
Right.
So Boston is a great area. However, check on the ordinance, because I'm not sure what the ordinance is there. But if there's a green light and you can get a permit, or you don't need a permit to operate, I would say Boston would be a perfect place.
Okay. What do you mean by ordinance? Like checking the ordinance and all that?
Yeah, basically to see, because there's maybe like 5% of cities do not allow Airbnbs.
Got you. Okay. I mean that if they don't allow Airbnbs, wouldn't there be none on that list?
Not really.
Okay. All right.
So
The
a
black
lot of
market. Okay.
for example, like I have a lot of students in New York City, and New York City also has like probably close to 1,000 Airbnbs that are active, but you're not supposed to have Airbnb. So you're kind of taking a risk, because you don't know how long you'll be able to actually, be able to operate it, and that just wouldn't be sustainable. And I wouldn't want someone to put their time, energy, and financial resources into something that may not last long. So I prefer you go into an area where they don't require a permit, which is most areas, or where you just pay a few $100s a year to get a permit and then operate completely by the book.
Got you. Okay. Can I ask another question?
Let's do it. One more.
I asked, do you ever get corporate leases? Because I was watching this other guy's video last night, and he was like, "We get corporate leases because you can
You
get
can,
multiple
yeah,
properties."
that's because he's doing apartment units. So
Right.
what he does is he'll go to say an apartment complex and rent 3 units, 4 units, 5 units, put them all under one master corporate lease. Yes. What I do is usually single family homes, and that's more residential. And so we don't use corporate leases. We use just standard residential leases for single family homes.
Awesome. I don't want to take up anybody else's time.
Got
I
it, man.
appreciate you.
Appreciate your time. Talk soon,
Thank you.
man. You got it.
Peace.
Bye-bye. All right, all right, all right, all right. All right. Again, also my phone number is right here in case you have more questions. And what was I going to say? I'm hosting a live webinar on next week, a week from today, Saturday, right? Yeah, a week from today. Next week, Saturday, February 6th at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. So if you guys want to join, just go to the link in my bio. You can also go to my stories and you'll see it there. I'm still going to stick around and do some more questions. I'm just going to pick up my daughter because she's awake. And you guys can hear her right here. So if you guys want to come on here, just send me a request and I can answer your questions. All right. Let's see here. Other questions. How do you get started? I'm a little late. Oh man, how do you get started with what specifically? Be specific with your questions, ladies and gentlemen. How many properties before you hire a manager? That's a good question. Oh, look who's awake. Hi. Beso? Beso? No. No beso? Okay, no beso. No beso for you guys. So we have these really cool shirts. Mine says The Legend and hers says The Legacy. ¿Verdad, bebé? Did you go caca? Okay, you're good. Hello. ¿Cuántos años tiene Catalea? ¿Cuántos años tiene Catalea? ¿Cuántos años? ¿Uno? ¿Cuántos años? ¿Cuántos años tiene Catalea? Okay, no. This is Catalea's room, guys. Check it out. She does like really cool stuff here. That's something that my wife made. You want to show them how you climb? You want to go here? You want to go here? All right, check this out, guys. Ready? Okay, show them your tricks. Go ahead. Show them how you climb like a spider monkey. Whee! All right, so let's go back to the questions here. Questions. So would you recommend somewhere like Reno? Yep. Biggest challenge, not getting more any sooner. Books you recommend: Rich Dad, Poor Dad and Think and Grow Rich. What is the going rate for a 3-2 house on Airbnb? It depends on the city. Title of my book, it's Breaking Through My Journey from Impossible to I'm Possible. And I talk about the 4 ancestral karmas, limiting beliefs that are literally ingrained in our DNA from generation to generation. One of those limiting beliefs is work hard equals success, which is not true. Another one is that money doesn't grow on trees. That's not true. Only people who weren't able to do that for themselves will project that fear and scarcity on you. The other one is you need school to be success, which is not true. I forgot what the fourth one is, but I talk about the 4 ancestral karmas, and I'm going to be releasing my book in March. My question is, how did you push yourself through in being successful? Having a big why. You know, this is my why right here. And of course, my wife. So, yes, you got to have a big why. And it can't be anything that can be replaced. It must be something where there's an emotional connection. Top 5 states to do Airbnb. 5 states. Oh, man. There's just, I'm not going to mention any because all the ones I don't mention, you're going to think they're not a good idea. And there's just a lot of states. Like, you can be very successful in the majority of all the states. But obviously we have big states like Florida, Texas, California, New York. You guys are testing me because my geography sucks. I can't really think of any names right now because remember, school is not my thing. Whee! So exactly, that's Jorge for you. Are cleaning fees regulated? No, they are not regulated. Where do we get your book? I'm gonna have an audio version too, and I'll let you guys know. You said, what about Reno? Is that just the Airbnb site? I don't understand the question, Marcus. Do you recommend Maryland, Virginia, or Washington, D.C.? I've looked into those areas before, and yes, those are great areas. What about Charlotte? Charlotte is a great area as well. Can you get your landlord to renegotiate on the lease? I mean, you should be able to. Everything is negotiable in business. How many property managers before you hire? I would say probably, I would say once you're making like 10,000 a month of cash flow, makes sense, because then you can pay a property manager maybe like $1,500 a month, and it's better you invest $1,500 a month and you still keep $8,500 a month, but now you're fully working on the business and not in the business. ¿Qué pasó, mamá? You want to wear this? Look, she wants to get her jacket because she wants to go outside. She is smart. Which one? This one? Okay, Este. Here you go. Okay, you want to take them off. Okay. All right, there we go. So, try to use Mash Visor. It's really easy. Yup, Mash Visor is what we use. She always wakes up happy. Mine wakes up mad for some reason. I recommend you join our live webinar. He breaks it down very well. Yes, I'm doing a live webinar next Saturday, February 6th, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. Go to my stories and register, or also on the link in my bio. Let's see here. For scaling, do you recommend professional cleaning companies? No, I recommend hiring a person per city where you have Airbnbs. I would love to own a home someday or a place of my own. What advice do you give as a buyer? So I'm not sure if you're talking about like in Mexico, the financing is different, but if it's in the US, we have a program called an FHA loan where you only put 3.5% down in order to purchase. Is Airbnb allowed in Westchester County in New York? I don't know off the top of my head. I want to purchase the book now. I'm going to have the physical book as well as the audio book. Well, the physical book in March, the audio book either March or April. I bought my first home at age 25. I'd love to add this to my brand. Awesome. What do you think about the law of attraction? Agree or yes? Yes. 100% agree. Yes, I live in Los Angeles. Okay, perfect. Then you can use a 3.5% FHA loan to buy your first property. Other questions. Let's see. So this is a common question that I've been getting is, did COVID impact your business? It did impact it a little bit, but not what people think. Like, it didn't take the business down 50%. What we do is we create a staycation experience where people from the same or nearby cities, same or nearby states will stay at our properties. Does that make sense? And so that's why I recommend having properties where, again, you can create a staycation experience. When you started, did you clean yourself or hire a company? Believe it or not, I did clean a couple times, but I immediately, that was that's actually the first thing I hired was cleaning people for the Airbnbs. Does the landlord normally increase the price once you pitch them? No. Do you typically rent or purchase the single family homes? Both. Would anybody, I want to bring on a few people. Would anybody like us, if you would like to come on live with me, just send me a request and then you can ask me a question. Are you cleaning? ¿Estás limpiando? Oh, wow. Oh, you want me to clean? Okay. Okay, así. Whoosh, whoosh, así. Whoosh, whoosh. What's your average operating cost to replenish items on a monthly basis? Probably $30 to $60 a month for each property, and that's like all the replenishables: toilet paper, paper towels, body wash, shampoo, conditioner, all that stuff. It's not a lot. Again, if you increase like whatever you're going to pay, say you're going to pay say you are going to pay your cleaning staff like $125 per cleaning, just charge $150 for the cleaning fee, and out of that $150 per cleaning that you charge, which is per booking, you pay $125 to your staff and you keep the other $25 to help cover all of your replenishables. I would, but I was laughed at last night. Well, the only reason you were laughed at is because you went into a really confusing story, and I was like, what are we talking about here? But feel free to come on. Start with my question is, ask your question, and then that's it. We'll just keep it really short and sweet. I don't have any questions today. Would have joined. You fixed mine yesterday. Thank you so much for answering all my questions. And we weren't laughing at you. We were laughing with you. Some of us are working right now, multitasking. How did you get started? Well, I started buying property in 2017, and then I started doing Airbnb. I'm sorry, I started buying property in 2012, and then I started doing Airbnb in 2017. Risk versus profit, what percentage? I'm not sure I understood that question. I have a bipolar disorder. My mania is wrapped up. That's all. Got it. What are T? What is? All right. Do you do any special things to stand out as a host, like welcome gifts, treats to your guests? We used to when we had just a few, but now that we have a lot, it's a little challenging to do all like gifts and treats and all that stuff. But we used to put like water bottles and chips and cookies and things like that. Especially if you like can buy things like these at Costco. We do have not any special gifts. No, we don't have any special gifts. All right, guys. Well, then I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up with just a couple things before I do. Join my Airbnb live webinar next Saturday, February 6th, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. Go to my stories or my bio to register. I also have a free ebook on which you can find at my bio, also here on IG, and a private Facebook community. I'll answer these two questions before I jump off. How often has your Airbnbs not received any guest stays? How often do you have to come out of pocket to cover? We actually haven't had to come out of pocket, and that's because before we launch in an area, we do our homework to make sure those areas are profitable. How much money does one need to start? Vague, but maybe you can share your story. How much money? Well, if you start with co-hosting, you don't need any money. If you start with subleasing, you got to pay the first month and the deposit, a couple $100s for decor and photography, and just find a property that's already furnished so that you don't have to buy all the furniture. How would a landlord not, if you're returning an Airbnb, if you happen to not to, how would, can you, man, I don't know if I'm dyslexic or if you guys are typing with like all kinds of typos because I don't understand. I says, how would a landlord, not if you're running a Airbnb, if you happen to not let them know. That does not make any sense to me. Is everyone reading the way I read it, or am I tripping here? Because I know I don't smoke, I don't drink, so where do you suggest getting my info when purchasing a condo? I recommend you don't buy a condo. I recommend you buy a house. You are appreciated. You're welcome, Elaine. I appreciate you. Again, Elaine, send me a DM if you haven't already. Thank you for your advice. What do you do for Wi-Fi? We order Wi-Fi for all the properties. All right, so I'm gonna bring you on and then start the question with my question is. Hello there, welcome back.
Hi. Well, thanks for having me back. This will be
course.
my redemption. Okay, my question is, I am from Ohio, and I would be looking into the co-hosting, no money up front situation, but also very aggressively looking into starting my own Airbnb business and getting rolling on my own. For interest in, say, California, what would be your recommendation on acclimating myself with the area, the market, tips and tricks to, to how to navigate that market in your area? Like, I could tell you things about my county, certain websites, how to check for taxes, things like that. What's your recommendation on familiarizing yourself with California?
So, two things. One is go on massadvisor.com to check how much Airbnbs are currently generating.
What's that website? Could you spell that?
I just typed it right now.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, massadvisor.com.
Oh, perfect.
And this is how you know if an area is already making money.
Okay.
And that's why when someone says like, oh, what happens if you don't make the rent? It's like, well, we make the rent because we know it's profitable before we even launch it. So
right.
That's number one. And number two is call the city in which you're looking to operate to see if Airbnb is either, if they don't require permits to operate, if they require permits to operate, or if they're not allowed. And the way you do that is you go on Google and you type building department and then whatever the city. So building department, San Diego, building department, Riverside, building department, Los Angeles. And the phone number will pop up. And so you call during business hours and ask them what their Airbnb ordinance is.
Airbnb ordinance is the verbiage there.
Yep. We see what the Airbnb or short-term rental ordinance is the accurate word.
Short-term ordinance. Thank you.
Yeah, short-term rentals.
And so wanting to hit the ground running with this, in my mind, I think to myself, I should just LLC, offer it. Is that something you would suggest or, frown upon?
For an LLC?
Yes.
You don't, if do you currently own other businesses or properties?
I don't currently own businesses or properties, but I plan on having more than one thing going at a time, meaning that I'm going to have to, kind of more compartmentalize, funds and, expenses and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I recommend to don't start the LLC right away because it's going to be just like a big expense, especially in California. I recommend you start. Okay. I recommend that you get a second personal checking account with a new number, and then use all your income and expenses out of that second checking account, so it makes it clear when it comes to tax time. And then once you have maybe a second or a third Airbnb, then at that point I recommend you get a personal umbrella insurance Then once you start buying property, then at that point, I think it would make more sense to start getting LLCs.
Okay, so for personal umbrella insurance, that's not required on your first property?
No, that's more of an
Okay.
insurance for you that has nothing to
So
do with
that's just after, as you said, the second or third, you're getting more of a, collective happening. You need to look into that. Okay, very good to know. Thank you.
You're
And I've
welcome.
not had anybody mention it thus far, so.
You're welcome.
Perfect. Well, I won't take up any more time, everybody, but I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for coming back.
Blessings.
You got it.
But I do have to say that it's nice to know you're laughing with me, not at me, because I have a lot to offer, but I also have a lot to learn, and it could be from you or it could be from someone else. And you're not the only one doing Airbnb. And for you and for the 75,000 people that follow you, that was a bad look if you were laughing at me last night. So
Yeah,
I appreciate this
I truly believe
opportunity, and
that.
thank you so much.
You got it. Definitely. We're laughing with you. Thank you so much for
I have a
joining.
racing mind. I wasn't naked. I wasn't 20 minutes in. My mind went a little left. So
I
sorry,
know.
everybody.
It's all good. No
Just my
worries.
entrepreneurial spirit. That's all.
I know.
Okay.
No worries. Thank you so
Thank
much for
you. Have
joining
a
us.
great
Talk
night.
soon. You too. Bye
Appreciate
bye.
your time.
You got it. Bye bye. All right. All right. How would a landlord know if you are running, if she was, oh, how would a landlord know if you are running a business? Okay, I think, yeah, man, I would have not known that's what she was saying. That's a lot of typos. Thank you for your time. She's probably driving or eating and texting, you know? I mean, there are a lot of people that operate without telling the landlords, but two things, two disadvantages, right? One, if they find out, then you are in violation of the lease because the lease clearly states no subleasing unless you change the verbiage once you actually talk to them about it with full transparency. And the second thing that you miss out on is the other properties they own, they're not going to tell you about them. This is how my daughter likes to drink water. Watch. She likes to put it on the table, and then she likes to drink from the table, which is okay because she's building her immune system. Get it, girl. Yep. Do it. Do it. Anyway, it's cool. Building the immune system, you know? You got to let kids be kids sometimes. So that's what I recommend is be fully transparent, get it in writing. So that way, one, you're doing it by the book. And plus you want to build a sustainable and scalable business. And if you don't let them know that's not sustainable or scalable, it's just too risky. Yeah. Would you say you need an LLC to start? Only if you own properties and have other businesses. Otherwise, no. Wouldn't the landlord want to negotiate for a higher rent? You know, logically, you would think that, but that hasn't been the case. What they want is someone that's going to pay them on time and take care of their property. All right, I got another request. Any requests? Anybody else that would like to come on here and ask a question? Let me know. Mm, mm, mm. Actually tastes like wood. How do you like that? I don't know, but that's okay. What is the pitch to the landlord? Um, so the biggest thing again is you look at the property, you say you want to proceed forward, submit your bank statement, credit report, and application. Once they see those things, then you say, hey, this property fits, I'd like to talk about, again, after they review the bank statement, application, credit report, then you say, hey, landlord, I'd like to talk about my intentions with the property. I do corporate housing and short-term rentals, and I'm wondering if that's something that you would consider. And they're more likely to say yes after they see that you have decent credit, the money in the bank, and you've submitted the application. Because if you just say it right off the top in the first conversation, they have no idea who you are. So you want to build that relationship, get them to know, like, and trust you at least a little bit, and it's going to increase your chances. Hey, boss, just got a quick question. After you co-host with the landlord and accept, let's say 15%, can you do a 3 months trial and renegotiate? Yes, you can. And with that being said, guys, I'm out of here. I appreciate you. Love you guys. Go to my stories or bio and register for my next webinar where I'm going to have Q&A on a Zoom call. Again, February 6th, next Saturday. Go to my stories or bio and register. And I'll see you guys then. Peace out. About to order some vegan food from my favorite vegan Mexican restaurant, which is called El Cocinero in LA. And then I'm gonna watch the Caleb boxing fight and hang out with my daughter. So say bye, Catalea. Say bye. Say bye. No. Beso, beso? No beso. No beso. All right, guys. Peace out.